Welcome all to this lecture of Design and Engineering. So in last lecture we defined the design as the solution to the existing problems. Okay. Solving the process of solving the problems is called design. And there are mainly 5 aspects of designs. So first one is the design objectives, second one is design functions, design constraints, design forms, and design means. Okay. So we can discuss one by one. First one is design objectives. So design objectives are the design goals or the primary requirements of the design, or the design objectives means it is the desired attributes of the design. So it will be we will be saying that what the design will be, that is the design objectives. Okay, what it will be after the design, what will be, it is called the design objective. For example, consider the product a portable ladder. So it means it should be portable, and the objectives are it should be portable and it will be used for climbing purposes. Okay. So that is the primary objective, or that is the design goal or requirement. Okay. So that is the design objective. So consider the example of electric motor. Motor means electric motor. The primary objective is to make the mechanical rotation, okay, or to drive a mechanical load. So that is the primary objective. Okay. So that is the desired requirement of the design. So next we can consider design functions. So design functions means the behaviors that is expected from this design, or this will describe, design functions will describe what the design will do or accomplish. Okay, after the design, what will the design do? Okay, that is the design function. Design objective is what it will be. Okay, so it is what it will do. There is a difference. And we can say a design should perform some functions to convert input to get the required output. Okay, that functions are called the design functions. For example, so consider the example of electric motor. Okay. So in electric motor, the objective is to drive the load by mechanical rotation. So the functions that are say it is electrical energy is converted to mechanical energy. So that is the function. This design, the electric motor design, has to convert electrical energy into mechanical energy, and the motor has to run in a required speed. Okay, so that's the design functions. Okay, that's the examples of design functions. Next is design constraints. So there will be the designer cannot do anything on a particular design. There are some limitations, or there are some constraints. Okay, that is called design constraints. For example, we will be say design a something, design a chair which will cost below 2,500 only. Okay, or the requirement will be for the requirement will be design a computer which is less than 45,000 or like that, or some product, the design should not exceed 300 kilometer. So these all are the limitations. Okay, limitations on designer, or the limitation on the designer creativity. Okay, so this is actually a break, or it is actually a block on the creativity of the designer. Okay, so these are called the design constraints. For another example is it should work in room temperature or a particular temperature. Okay, so that's the limitations are called, or a limit. It is called design constraint, or the design should complete in 15 days or like that. Okay, so that's the design constraints. And next is design means. So it is the way in which a design executes the desired function. For example, we can consider the example of bicycle brake. So the function of a bicycle brake is to stop the wheel when the brake is applied. Okay. So this is actually the function. It has to stop the wheel, and the means it is occurring by the means of frictional force between rim and brake pad. Okay, the frictional force is making this function. So it is by means of. So the means is frictional force between rim and brake pad. Or we can say the example of motor. Okay, so motor runs. That is the objective or function. It is by means of electromagnetic induction. So the means is electromagnetic induction. So it will be the science of the design. Okay. And design forms. So this is actually the form means the shape. Okay, the shape of the design. Form is determining the shape of the design. So it the form determines the look and feel of this design, aesthetics and ergonomics, how we can use it, or whether it is user friendly or like that. Okay, so that are driven by the design forms. Okay, for example, this chair, the function is same, but these designs are more aesthetic or ergonomic. Okay, more look, there are some aesthetic value for this design. Okay, the shape is looking good. Okay, so that is the difference between this design and these designs. Okay. And similarly, the function is same, but there are different forms. Okay. The shape is different. Okay. That is about design forms. And now, what is engineering design? We already discussed that design is the process of solving problems. Okay. So what is engineering design? So engineering design means the method that engineers use to identify and solve problems. The process of solving problems is called design, and the method that designers or engineers use to identify and solve the problems is called engineering design. Or we can create, or we can frame a definition. So engineering design is a systematic process where engineers generate, evaluate and specify solutions whose the design forms and functions achieve clients' objectives and users' need. And obviously it will satisfy specified constraints. Okay, so this make the definition of engineering design. We can use this and we can frame the definition like this. Engineering design is a systematic process in which engineers generate, evaluate and specify solutions for devices, systems or processes whose design forms and functions achieve clients' objectives and users' need, and satisfying the specified constraints. So this is the definition for engineering design. So here there are three important persons: designer, client and user. Okay. Designer, client and user is a triangular relation in occurring in a design. In every design there will be a client, there will be a designer and user. So who is a client? So client is a person or a group or a company that wants to make this design implemented. Okay. Okay. That is called client. It can be a person or a group or a company. Okay. And user will be one who are using this design product. Okay. And designer will be obviously designing or solving this problem or developing a solution. Okay, so these are the three categories, okay, involved in a design. For example, consider the ETLab product in our college. So client who is client will be the college. The college is wanted to implement the design. Okay, and user will be the one who are using, means faculty and students. Okay, then designer is mainly the say the company Etuva, which is designing the ET Lab software. Okay, so in every design we can find these three categories. Okay. That is the triangular relation involved in design. Okay. So designer has to meet the requirement and client and has to satisfy the need of users. Okay. So now we discussed what is design and what is engineering design. So now how we can do this design, or we can discuss about the design process. So whether there is a exact way to design. So obviously there are a number of so design is actually solutions to problem. So it is obvious that there will be number of solutions to a single problem. Okay. So each one will be doing different type of designs. So it is very difficult to limit the designers in a particular method. Okay. So even though it is very difficult, we can have some scientific methods that everyone can adopt, a general process or general steps that can be adopted by the designers to develop this optimized designs. Okay, so we can discuss the steps. First one is define the problem. Okay, we have to solve the problem, that is the process of design. So first we have to define the problem, then we have to generate the concepts. What is the concept involved in the particular problem or particular design. Okay, then we have to develop a solution. We have to construct and test a prototype, evaluate the solution, and finally present the solution. So these are the steps involved in a design process. So we can discuss first define the problem. So what is define the problem means? The problem should be, we have to identify the problem. Okay, then we have to validate the problem. Validate the problem means we have to say, we have to check whether the problem is really a problem. Okay, whether it's a worth solving problem, means whether there is any worth when we are solving that problem. So that is the involved in the define the problem. Okay. So it has to clearly mention the requirements, what are the specifications, what are the criteria, what are the constraints. So that is the step called definition of the problem. Okay. So if if you are checking the problem and if you are not able to define the problem correctly, means if the problem is not valid or not justifiable, so we have to again return and we have to redefine the problem. Okay. So you suppose the problem is okay, so the problem is acceptable, we can go to next step, that is generate concepts. Generate concepts means we have to do research, we have to conduct brainstorm sections in order to understand what is the concepts behind the problem or behind the design. And again we can add some other design functions or goals to this, to make the problem worthy and to make the design worthy. And again at this point we are thinking about the technology, or we thinking about the engineering to solve this problem. So if there are no acceptable technology existing, we have to again go for some research, and again sometimes we have to redefine the problem, or again we have to look around under the generate concept step. Okay, and if it is okay, we can go for developing the solution. So developing the solution means there will be number of solutions. Okay, so we have to create a detailed design solution, and we have to justify the solution, how we occurred that solution, designer has to justify, and we have to communicate the solution with the client or user with explanation and technical drawings, many drawings, or drawings means we can do the engineering drawing in order to present or in order to communicate the solution with the users. Okay, and whether we have to check whether the solution is valid, or whether users and clients are satisfied with the solution. If no, we have to again go for the previous steps. We have to repeat the previous steps again. Sometimes we have to repeat the concepts again, or we have to redefine the problem itself. Okay. So if it is valid solution, means we have to go for the constructing the prototype. Okay. Prototype means a miniature model of the actual product. Okay. In which the size will be the scale down. Okay. So we can test the product by using prototype. So it should be testable prototype. Okay. And we have to test the prototype, collect the test data and analyze the test data, and we have to submit the test report for the in front of the user and client. And again, so these are examples of prototypes, miniature models. Okay. So again, if the prototype is valid, we have to check whether a prototype is valid or not. If it is not a valid prototype, we have, if it is failed in the testing, so it means the design is a bad design. Okay, so we have to again go for the previous steps. Okay, sometimes we have to develop a good solution or generate concepts or redefine the problem. Then we have to evaluate the solution. The evaluation team should be evaluating the solution, whether it is effective or like that. Okay. If not, we have to recommend for improvements, and we have to again go for a better solution. So if the solution is not solving the problem, we have to again go for the good design. Okay. Go previous means it can go up to the redefining of the problem. Okay. So if the problem is solving the problem, we can present the solution. Okay, finally, by a good document. It should be the explanation and technical drawing, or we can communicate the project to the users, clients, and everyone using a formal presentation or like that. Okay. So, we discussed the design process. So we came to know that design process is an iterative process. Okay, each time we are going to the previous steps. Okay, many times. So it is an iterative process, and finally we are getting a good design. So 6 steps are involved in a design process, and we can have a detailed design process steps. First, define a problem and brainstorm the possible solutions, generate ideas, research ideas and explore possibilities, specify the criteria and identify constraints, consider alternative solutions, select an approach, develop return design proposal, consider the prototyping, and test and evaluate the refine and create the design, and finally communicate the results or the solution. So with this we can wind up this session. Thank you.